Hello, and welcome to Sourdough's Baked Goods. Today we're going to do our third attempt on our sourdough bread. We're going to see if we can get rid of any mistakes that I was having before. So I'm going to be using the machine today to make sure that it's not my kneading. I'm going to make sure I have my water in my oven to make sure it steams up nicely and gets a nice crust. And I'm going to use a sharper knife to make sure the cuts are nice so that it doesn't just explode out one side. So let's get into it. Let's start with our starter. Okay, so now that we have our starter in our bowl, we're going to refeed our starter so that we can use it later. So whatever you have left, get it out and put the amount of weight that you just used back in. So we used 160, so make sure you're using whole wheat. 80 of both water and flour to make it back to what it was. Now just mix it up, put it back in your jar. I'm not going to be making this for a little while from now, so I'll put it in the fridge. And then we'll start finishing our dough. You have to make sure that everything's mixed in properly, or if the flour, so for example, if the flour is just flour, the yeast won't eat it. It needs a bit of water in there to make sure that it's eaten properly. So, let's put it back in nicely. Make sure you get all of it back in. Don't want to be wasting any of that yeast. And we'll put this in the fridge. Okay, so now that we have our starter in and we've fixed our starter, we're going to put our flour in here. We're going to mix our salt with some of our water. Then we're going to put the rest of the water in here. Start the machine. Once it's all mixed together, we'll add in our salt water. Then we'll let it go till it forms a dough. Then we'll turn up the speed and let it go for 8 minutes to knead. So, let's put the flour in first. Make sure it's bread flour. You can use all-purpose, but it won't make it as nice of a product. Now I'm going to put 180 grams of water in here and 50 grams with our salt. Now let's do our salt. Okay, so now that we have our salt water, we can just mix it up. Now that we have everything ready, I have my salt water. We're going to let this go for a bit, add our salt water, then let it form a dough. Then we'll turn up the speed and let it knead for 8 minutes. So let's have it go for a bit. Now that it's semi-formed, we're going to add in our salt water. Make sure you get all your salt in there. And we'll start it up again until it forms a dough. So the dough is formed now. We're going to turn up the speed and let it go for 8 minutes now. Our 8 minutes are done. I just use a bit of flour to be able to scrape everything off. I can show you what it looks like and how much it's been kneaded. So, bounces back, looking really good. We'll let this rest. Remember, it's sourdough, so it should take a very long time, like probably 2 hours to proof. So just make sure you're looking for double in size. And be careful, because if you wait too long, which you can sometimes do because you forget about it, it will overproof and it's hard to fix. I'm gonna guess about 2 hours because of my warm water and my cold room. The warm water is gonna help it, but the cold room's probably gonna bring it back down to 2 hours. So let's just wrap it and we'll come back then. It's about doubled in size now. Just to make sure I can get it out nicely, I'm going to put a little flour in so I can scrape around, grab it all, take it out, put a little bit of flour back down here, make sure I get it all. and then punch it down. Make sure you get all that air out. I like to bring it out here for sourdough because the air bubbles in sourdough aren't huge. They're small versus when you use the regular yeast. So it's easier to flatten this thing out. Use a bit of flour just to make sure that it doesn't stick everywhere. And it makes it so much easier to get all the air out this way. And you can hear it all popping when I do this. Now this is only for sourdough. Normally with the other dough, again, like I just said, there's going to be huge bubbles rather than all these tiny little bubbles. So I'm just going to continue till I know that all of the bubbles are out. It's done proofing now, so doubled in size. I can flip it on here. Looking good. Use a sharper knife. Get your square. Just make sure you cut nicely. We'll just have to throw this in the oven about 25 minutes. I put the pan of water in there and we'll see how it turns out. Hopefully this is 3rd time's the charm. Here it is. It's done. It exploded a bit out the bottom, which is where you kind of want it to. But it's got the nice design, got a nice crust on it. Looks pretty good. It was 3rd time's the charm. So I'm just gonna take a photo of it. Just looking to see if maybe I can improve on anything, but this is looking good. The only thing that might be changed is I need to get one of those razors so that I'm not dragging so much with my knife. So this is how that turned out. Looking good. Really the only thing I need to fix is grabbing a razor to make it cut nicer. I might change the design on the top to just one cut and see how that works. But other than that, it's looking pretty good. Maybe it isn't 3rd time's the charm. I might do a 4th attempt with a straight cut and see how that turns out. And we'll find out next time. If you've liked this video, please like and subscribe. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. I even have my own website. Thank you, and have a nice day.